I'm gonna go ahead and begin making some figures out of regular drinking straws here with a little bit of masking tape and also a scissor. So what I have done is I'm changing the proportions of the figure from how I showed you guys last class. So I'm just making these smaller overall, and I'll share with you the proportions in a second. Anytime we're making something in proportion, that means we're making it the right size in relation to the whole. All right, so last time I used entire drinking straws for like the limbs and the torso and stuff, so it kind of looked like this right here. I know you can't see the whole figure, but this guy is huge. I'm gonna downsize him ever so slightly to be more of this size right here, okay? So I'll share with you right now how I did that. So first things first, I have here, this is the entire length of a drinking straw. What I have done is cut 2 of these in half. So this is 1 straw here. So 2 sections, 2 sections. All right. And then, sorry y'all, this is the last one. Okay, so I used a ground mapping total of 3 straws for this, and what I did was I took 2 of my straws and divided them in half, and then I notched them. Okay, so I'm making 1 straw, so two sections total, the arms, 1 straw, 2 sections total, the legs. And what I did was I made little notches in these with my scissor. So remember, I cut like halfway or whatever, and just so that they wouldn't break apart. And what I did was notched it like about half the way down and then a little bit above the end here for like a hand or a foot. Okay, so basically it's like this straw divided in half with just a little bit here. Tink. And I did that for both the hands and the feet. And I think this will become apparent as I assemble it. Now for this last straw, what I have done, and I'm not sure if this will work out entirely, but this, I divided it in half. Okay, so this is about the halfway point. This section here is for the torso. This bottom section, I took that half and divided it maybe about 2/3 in this last third. This section here is going to be for our shoulder line of our figure. Okay, so the shoulders. This will be here for the pelvis, okay, so where we attach the legs. And then I have arms, legs, legs. Okay, so again, this is a little bit smaller than how I did last time, and this may be a little bit more feasible, a little bit more workable for some of you guys, okay? And it still keeps in with the proportions, the regular proportions of a human figure, which basically says that an adult human is about 7.5 heads tall, and you know, your legs are about three heads tall or so. So this should work out. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I think I'm going to attach my my cross for my shoulders and also my pelvis here. What I have done ahead of time, and I would do this along with me right now, is I have a whole bunch of these little tiny pieces, about 1 inch or so, of masking tape that I have stuck to my table. If I don't do this ahead of time, I'm gonna go to reach for a piece of tape while I'm trying to hold 2 straws together, and I will have nothing to tape with, and then I'll have to put it back down, and it wastes time, and it's also frustrating, okay? So create a whole bunch of these that you can grab in order to secure your figure, all right? So for this, as I'm attaching this into a cross, so again, this is my shoulder line, I'm coming down about 1/3 of the way, so the bottom 2/3 are for the torso, and what I'm going to do is I am going to add this right here to my torso. Sorry, y'all. And I'm gonna try and get it stuck on there first and then wrap it. And I'm trying to do this on the diagonal. And I'm struggling with this. I have a Band-Aid on my finger right now, and it's like getting in the way of me doing anything. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have something that looks like this. This, I think is secure. Let me smush it together. Once I've wrapped it, I kind of smush it in there. Okay, cool. So I have a cross shape. This is perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the pelvis right here to the bottom. And I'm gonna do it in a similar way where I'm gonna go diagonally, trying to stick the tape to my drinking straw here, wrapping it and smushing it so it's secure. The smushing and pinching of the tape is important because that'll help your figure be sturdy. And obviously, if you need, you know, more tape to secure it, like going around a second time, that's perfect. I stick it on there and then I pinched it in order to make this pretty secure on here, okay? So this represents my torso. So this is my head, my shoulders, my torso here, the main trunk of my body, my pelvis, and now I'm gonna start to add on these straws that I have already pre-notched, okay? So this could be an arm or a leg. I'm gonna go ahead and attach it right here. And I'm gonna start it here, just getting the sticky, or these straws stuck on here, and then I'm gonna wrap it on the diagonal. And then I'm going to smush it. As you're wrapping it, you could totally position it as well. I may need another piece of tape here, actually, now that I think about it. I'm going to do that real quick. I think I'm going to need another piece of tape here. All right, I'm going to add the other piece, the other arm here. And again, I have pre-notched these, okay? So I have the longer pieces, longer section of the arm up the top with a small one at the bottom. And again, I just try and stick it first like this and then start wrapping it on the diagonal. And if you're struggling with this, this is hard, okay? So I'm just gonna warn you. And I'm smushing it really good. I may need to secure that later on if it pops off, okay? So this is what I have for my little guy so far, and I'm gonna go ahead and attach his legs the same way. So on either side of the pelvis, I'm going to just use a little piece of my tape here, and I'm gonna stick it, smush it, and then wrap it on the diagonal. Okay, same thing for the other one. And again, these are pre-notched, so I already notched these. So these two sections are the longer sections. This is for a little foot. And I'll do this last one right here. Same way, okay? So I have a little piece of tape just to stick it. I'm gonna smush it. All right, y'all, and before I do anything else, so this is the start of my figure. All right, so this looks pretty good. I'm actually realizing right now his legs are not the same size. That's kind of funny. All right, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do right now is start to flesh out the torso and such, head and torso, okay? So I can do this in a variety of ways. Okay, I'm gonna use my masking tape. I could actually use some aluminum foil for this. I am gonna use some masking tape, but just keep in mind, you can use aluminum foil. Don't use the aluminum foil I gave you though, because that we're gonna use for another project. You could use saran wrap, you could use, oh my gosh, any number of other things for this, okay? So, I mean, see what you have to use to create your figure. right, I'm using some masking tape. I'm going to build that up so it's a little bit more of an oval. So think of this that we're making here as like a mannequin. It's a more abstract figure. It's not something that's going to look super realistic, and that's okay. All right, so this is what I have so far. I think if I was using this for a project, I would form this head a little bit better than how I have, but this is good for now. All right, now what I'm gonna do for my torso is I'm actually gonna do this a little bit on the diagonal. So I'm gonna go from my shoulder blade down to kind of where the pelvis is and wrap it. And notice I have a larger section of tape here. Okay, so keeping with this V shape. I'm going to use up this extra tape I have here, just a little bit of it. I'm also kind of connecting it to this pelvis area. I would go around a couple times and form this. I don't want to waste our time though for this video because it's already kind of a long video. All right, so this is kind of your basic shape for your torso. Okay, and again, I would flesh this out a little bit more. You can use any of the things we talked about before. You can use paper. I mean, that's definitely a possibility as well. All right, now right now he's like a little stick figure man, okay? So what we want to do here is we want to start to pose him. Now I was careful to notch this only about halfway, but again, I may break off accidentally his like little limbs. That is not my intention. So we're gonna see if we can get him posed in different ways. All right. Let's say I want this figure, their arm bent upward like this, okay? As soon as I bend it, I can wrap it in order to secure that joint the way I want it to be. And again, I was able to do that by notching halfway these little tiny straws here. Let's say for this, I want the hand outward like that. That's fine. Okay. This one, let's say I want the hand inward a little bit. Let's see what we got. There's my notch. I could even have him going like this maybe. Okay, I'm gonna always, I would tape it at the elbow the way you want it. So that's actually looking kind of good right now. All right, so one real quick thing before we talk about how to mount this onto something. I would also flesh out, like once you have these bent the way you want them to, feel free to flesh out with any manner of things the arm. So I'm taking a piece of masking tape and just very loosely catching some air here, overlapping it. But I am fleshing this out so it looks more like a figure, you know, a proportional figure here. So see how this arm just looks a little bit thicker than being like a straw man. Consider doing this to make it a little bit more accurate. I could paint this when I'm done, give it a solid color, etc. So expect to like pose your limbs similarly, like at each joint the way you want it to go. As long as it's notched, you can wrap it in the tape and then flesh it out. And then lastly, let's say, you know, I want to pose this guy and I want him to be standing like this, or I want him to be sitting. Most likely I will have to secure his feet to a piece of cardboard in a scene, just so that it's, you know, he's upright and part of the social scene. Okay, so kind of more like this. So expect to kind of tape his little feet down, being balanced and posed onto something, okay, in order to make him part of the scene, okay? So I just wanted to share that with you, that process as a refresher. You can do it any way you want, but that has been what I found works for me.